question that carries on from the previous person. How do you get into that feeling place when it's your body that's hurting a lot and when it's really, really in your face? Because you're talking about money and other things you want to manifest, but if it's your body and you're not feeling good in your body, it's really quite a challenge to get into a really feeling good place.
Well, almost anyone would argue that their issue is the hardest. And we acknowledge that when you don't feel good, it has more effect because you're observing everything through the lens of how you feel. And so we know what you're talking about, but you have to stop arguing for that limitation. Because if you step back into a more general sense and you acknowledge that it doesn't matter what subject of lack you've got active, there's just no way of getting around it. You've got to stop activating that subject of lack. And the only way that we can effectively convince you of that, you see, when you think about it, Jerry was working on the twice monthly subscription program earlier today, and it comes from a recording from Kansas City from a few weeks back. And Jerry came right up out of his seat as he read the words, Abraham's words, deconstructing thought. He said, I cannot believe they were talking about that then. I thought it just came up. And we said, it's what we've been talking about from the day that you heard the first word through Esther. Because what we're talking about is letting the now reality be less significant while you make a different reality be more significant. So whether it is the reality of money or the reality of your physical body or the reality of a relationship or the reality of anything, there is a vibrational reality that does exist, that precedes all manifestation. Doesn't matter what it is. There is what is wanted and lack of it that is potential for you to focus upon at any time, you see. So if we can convince you that what you seek is vibrationally available, and we can convince you that you just have to focus in the direction of what is vibrationally available, but that it requires a different kind of ear to the ground, a different kind of sensing. In other words, we want to talk about emotions. So let's talk about how you feel in your body in terms of feeling. When you say your physical body doesn't feel good, give us a handful of descriptive words that describe what you mean.
Sometimes I feel really weak or tired.
Tired, all right.
Sometimes I feel literally, sick, as in nauseous, not just because of the boat. That's okay.
So physical sensations that feel like it could be pain, it could be tiredness, it could be nauseous. So let's use the word I feel sick. I feel sick. Now let's find some emotional words that we could use rather than describing those physical words, because it's interesting, all of those words, they're really not objects, they are feelings. In other words, when you say something smells funny, or I feel sick, or I feel nauseous, or I feel dizzy, you're not really describing a tangible thing, are you? In other words, would you say that those words are more emotional words than they are thought words? So let's deconstruct them a little more. Let's make them more general. And instead of saying, I feel pain, let's say instead, I feel, let's use the word stress. I feel stress. I feel pain. I feel stress. I feel stress. I feel discomfort. I feel discord. I feel vibrational imbalance.
Right.
Now we're reconstructing the thought. In other words, you had already deconstructed it from what's causing. In other words, you didn't say someone hammered a nail into my head. In other words, it wasn't that tangible.
Yeah.
You were describing it already in a sort of deconstructed way. I feel sick. I feel nauseous. So now we deconstructed it a bit further. We took it back from the specifics into a more general place. I don't feel so good, but now we're putting it into some vibrational terms. I feel uneasiness. I feel discord. I feel stress. I feel misalignment. I feel resistance.
Yep.
I feel out of whack with the source within me.
Yep.
Now, when you deconstruct it that way, do you feel how it softens for you? Because while you don't know how to stop the nausea, you don't know how to stop the pain, you don't know what to do as you get back into the specifics of reconstructing thought, you don't know what to do, but when you put it into a vibrational term, I feel sort of removed or disconnected or not really in sync with the source within me. Don't you feel some sort of ease in that acknowledgement, don't you? I feel some resistance to the source within me. Now, what does that tell me consciously? That tells me that the source within me isn't feeling that. So now you started with us by almost saying, you didn't quite say it, but it's what you meant. We have physical bodies and we have physical stuff we're dealing with.
Yep.
And so I'm going to take the subject that's hardest for me to deal with, my physical body, which you, Abraham, by the way, don't really have. You don't really have a physical body, but I want, and we want you to understand that everything that you feel that feels off, whether you call it anger or whether you call it frustration or whether you call it nausea or whether you call it physical pain, it is all a byproduct, a pointed, powerful, perfect, indicating byproduct of a vibration that your inner being holds that you're not holding in the moment. In other words, it's not about anything other than you thinking thought different than the source within you thinks it. And what makes it hard to fix that is when you start wanting in your reconstruction of thought to find harmony with your inner being about those kinds of things, you never find that kind of harmony because your inner being never thinks those kinds of thoughts about the things you think about. Your inner being never thinks about lost love. Your inner being never thinks about an organ in your body failing. Your inner being never thinks about your unworthiness. Your inner being just doesn't have those kinds of thoughts. So when you try to bring yourself into vibrational harmony with your body in a specific thinking way, you're not ever going to find the path because you're vibrational light years away from the way the source within you thinks. Does that make sense to you? You've got to talk to your inner being on the level that your inner being talks. You've got to find the vibe of your inner being. So your inner being knows you in terms of worthiness and knows you in terms of value and knows you in terms of beingness and knows you in terms of vibration. Your relationship with your inner being is one of love, not of physical cells in your physical body being out of whack or in whack. You sort of get what we're talking about? So now you say, I'm going to start talking about my body to myself and to my inner being in a way that my inner being can relate to. So now let's take one of the words that you offered, sort of weak. Now let's deconstruct it. That feeling of weakness is the absence of clarity. Now feel how different it feels rather than calling your body weak to call it not focused. Because doesn't it feel entirely different? I can't do something this red hot minute about the weakness that I'm feeling, but I can do something about the focus. Helpful, isn't it? So do you think your inner being is up there sitting on a cloud somewhere doing push-ups? Do you think your inner being is really buff and just wishing that you'd pick up those barbells and come along? Or that's not the kind of relationship you have with your inner being, and yet it is the relationship that you have with your inner being that equals everything that manifests, you see. So by deconstructing the thought, now we're talking about how I feel. And how I felt was sort of weak and unfocused. How I felt was sort of lethargic. Now I'm feeling more confident. Now I'm feeling more knowing. Now I'm understanding more who my inner being is. Now I'm feeling more supported. Supported isn't all that positive a word, but in this context it is. I'm feeling more supported. I'm feeling the stream or the source or the power of my inner being. Power. Power is an interesting word, isn't it? Because it's not such a deconstruction of thought, but when you think of power and energy and alignment and source, it changes things, doesn't it?
So it's about focus?
It's about focus. It's about finding a way right here and now without changing. You see, when you say, I need to feel better in order to align with my inner being, we say, no, you need to align with your inner being to feel better. And then you say, it's your opening words to us, but isn't it harder to align with one's inner being when one's physical body doesn't feel good?
Yeah.
And we say, we're not going to give that to you, because what you're saying is, isn't it hard for me to focus? And we say, it might be, but that gets you nowhere. I'm sick because I can't focus. I'm sick because I can't focus. I'm sick because I can't focus. I don't feel good because I can't focus. We say, after a while, that's a pretty puny argument. I don't feel good because I'm not focusing, and I'm not focusing because I haven't tried to focus, and I haven't tried to focus because I didn't understand the power of focus. But now, with this deconstruction of thought conversation, I realize I can feel for alignment even though I can't this red hot minute change the physical characteristics of my body. What we're saying is you don't have to change anything in your body. You only have to change the vibration of the moment, and you do that by feeling how your inner being feels. So do you think your inner being feels? So let's play with this. We haven't been here before. Let's play with this. So your inner being isn't out there running marathons or lifting weights. So you're not going to relate with your inner being in that way. So what word can you think of that indicates your inner being's state of being? What emotional word? There are a lot of them, but...
My inner being state of being at all times. Strength.
Good word, isn't it? Strength. But you don't mean strength, but you don't mean it in terms of...
I don't mean physical strength.
You don't mean physical strength,
No.
but you do mean strength. So now take that word strength. So if you can give the word strength to your inner being without asking your inner being to run marathons or pick up weights, can you flesh it out a little bit? Can you give us more words that mean strength? Clarity,
Knowing.
agility, knowing, confidence, sureness, well-being, worthiness, alignment, connection, energy, source. There is all of those words. All of those words represent that, don't they?
Enthusiasm, knowing. Yeah.
And by focusing there, you can find that. In other words, so your inner being finds all of that and doesn't even have a body. So what's the problem if you've got a body that's gimpy today?
Yeah.
No big deal. Unless you make the body the way to the energy, which we would not do. We would make the energy align with energy so that you become the vibrational being that you are, and then your body reflects that.
I've heard you say your body is... I think I've heard you say that your body is a good indicator of, like, for example, if you're tired, some people might say, oh, I'm sick, but actually they're just a little bit tired. So it's like not ignoring your body. You don't want to ignore your body because it's giving you a message, but at the same time you don't want to bury yourself in what you're feeling.
We think that when someone gives you a diagnosis, that you should just cross out whatever diagnosis they've given you and just replace it with the diagnosis, I'm suffering from a severe case of self-inflicted resistance. Because self-inflicted gives you the power to do something about it.
Yeah.
And then shore it up a little bit by saying, which means I've just been thinking some thoughts that I picked up along my physical trail that the source within me does not think. And I've made such a pattern about it that I've caused some vibrational separation that is reflected in this evidence of a puny feeling body right now. But all of that is irrelevant because my relationship with my source doesn't have anything to do with my body. My relationship with my source is a vibrational relationship over which I have complete control right here and now, regardless of the condition of my physical body.
Yep.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Thank you.